This is Truthful Manipulation, where truth is the truth and reality is made real and clear to understand. I'm Dave Kelsey, and I'm here today with my co-host, H. Daniel Mujahid.
Today's show, we want to dedicate it to having a discussion, our views regarding woman, female, and mother. As you know, last week we got a chance to talk about the damage that was done to the psyche of males by the idea of white male supremacy, etc. And we've kind of had a real good feedback from youth in the community as to the dilemma they have in living in the world today and trying to make sense of it all. When it comes to what we said as when we say women and the female and mother, there has been historically very much a lot of manipulation all the way back to even some of the translations being misunderstood in scripture about meaning when it comes to what a woman is. Some of you will find it interesting that actually in the Genesis, the fifth chapter, the second verse, it actually describes that when God made the humanity male and female, blessed them, and called their name Adam. Yeah, we overlooked that because there's other meanings that are assigned when we say woman. When we say man, for example, man does not mean flesh. Man does not mean mind. Man does not mean male, excuse me. Man means mind. If that's the case, then woman is a type of mind. And so while we have in society gotten accustomed to projecting evils on the woman, on the female, and not living up to our responsibility for the things that cause certain shortcomings in human society, we are at a point in time now where we have to review and re-examine how we see women, how we see daughters, how we see mother, how we see female. I thought I would just point out a case of question to my co-host, Dave, since he has a lot of experience when it comes to women, female, and mother, and maybe have him give us some views about how he sees those roles and those persons in society and in his life. Dave?
As we look at the female examples in our life, we tend to look past them at different times, and that's always bothered me. And the reason that that's always bothered me, first off, I am a father of two daughters. My mother, fortunately, is still alive. I've been fortunate enough to be married for 45 years. So during that time, I've learned a little bit about women. And what I have learned from them is women are always or are usually the calming part of the male. And I said this last week to our younger male audience that we were talking to at that time. You never will be fulfilled totally in life until you have female input in your life. But you have to treat that female input as if they're equal, or not as if they're equal. They have to be treated as equal. In fact, for the most part, the females are the one that manage the house. They mother the kids. They teach them the examples, because to be quite honest with you, a lot of the examples that I see coming out of males today are anything but what I would like young children to mimic. I see males trying to impose what they feel is their authority over females, which it's not. And we have to go back to religion, though, Daniel, because religion has caused a lot of this over the years. Because before even the Christian church or the Judeo church or any of that came into existence, a lot of the gods that people revered at that time were actually women. I've spent quite a lot of my life in Hawaii, or I've had the privilege to spend quite a little bit of time in Hawaii. They didn't name the god of the volcanoes over there after a male. The males were the kings. The males were the ones that were always warring. But when it came down to it, they had the goddess Pele. And by God, the one thing that you didn't want to do if you were male was to piss off Pele. Because if you did, your environment was going to not be what you would like it to be, because it would virtually turn to hell on earth, and the rock would become fire until Pele, the god, was somehow appeased. But when we come back to modern day society, you've got pretty much every organization on earth telling you males are superior to females. And I have not felt that for a long, long time. I think males, for the most part, are stronger than females. Are they stronger mentally? Absolutely not. Are they stronger physically? Most of the time. Not all of the time, but most of the time. But when it comes to mental acuity or actually caring, females have the ability to do it better than males do. Daniel, don't you feel that females have the ability to be more caring, more empathetic than what males can?
No question about it. And I think that, again, going back to how the language of scripture was manipulated, when you look at even if you look at the pre-Christian era, when you look at the language that's given in that story about the woman coming from the rib, remember that it's not even talking about physical. Once we say that man is mind, then we should not be thinking genetically, or we should not be thinking about genitals, or we should not be thinking about gender. So if the woman, this type of mind, is being produced from the rib of a man, keep in mind that originally when the human beings were made, the males and the females were made together. Now, so there's a distinction being made in the language between female and woman. You see that? So the woman is not even talking about flesh as much as it's talking about a type of mind. And so if we miss this, then we begin to project the idea of if we did something wrong and we had to blame somebody, and if we were male, it would be convenient to blame this female. But woman is a different nature now. You're talking about mentally. Now, what does that mean mentally? What does that mean spiritually? It means that there are qualities that make the human work. And those qualities, not the physical qualities, those higher qualities, they are governed by logic and rules. And we learn those. And that higher learning is brought about through the facility, as Dave said, called woman. So yes, woman is a type of man as well. And so there's a lot of miseducation and manipulation in the way we perceive what a woman is, even what a female is. And that has to be corrected if we are to go forward and be what the human being is to be. So it's a good point, Dave. And I do think that the women of the world, although they have been greatly disserviced by this ill thinking, they have to also keep in mind they have a special sacred, if you will, role that only they can do in society. Now,
Yeah, Daniel, you're
we,
right. They have a sacred role in society. They
Mhm.
have the only sacred role in society when it comes to human beings, don't they? Because they're the only ones that have the ability to produce life. Men don't
Yeah.
produce life. I've heard some of these guys say things like, we conquer, they accept. That's bullshit. You might talk
Mm.
that shit with your buddies in front of your friends. But I will guarantee you, when you go home at night, you do whatever mama tells you that you're going to do, because that's the way that it's supposed to be. Women were put in our lives to temper us, to make us better human beings than what we would have been. But we got a whole boatload of males out there that think that it's appropriate to objectify, to villainify, to make women out to be something that's evil, when in reality, if the men really look at evil, they'll find out that evil is what they are. And let's go back to religion, Daniel, because you've got the evangelicals out there that keep preaching this abortion thing, don't they? They keep going
Mhm.
back to it. But what's the Bible say about life? It doesn't say that life was at conception, does it? It says that life was when God breathed life into man. You do
Mhm.
understand that. It was when he
Mhm.
breathed life into man. It wasn't at conception. You aren't alive until you take that first breath. But what you have to understand is you've got a bunch of evil assholes out there that all want to be in charge. And if you give women the ability to do the things that they should be able to do on their own without question, that's when men start having a problem. Men always want to have something to say about whether women can have abortions or not, don't they? Is that true, Daniel, or not?
That's true.
Okay. So if that's the case, so shouldn't women have the ability to say when and if men were castrated? If that logic holds true, then it
Yes.
should hold true on both sides. But unfortunately, you have men, and normally the ones that should be castrated are the ones that are preaching that nonsense anyway about abortion, because it all comes back to the same thing, doesn't it? They
Mhm.
all chase the money. And you have to remember, evangelical Christianity in America today has been hijacked. There is
Mhm.
nothing Christ-like about Christianity in the U.S. Nothing. Not one thing. The only thing that's Christ-like about what's going on in the U.S. is this Christian national nonsense that whites are somehow superior to everybody, and particularly white men. I got news for you. You're wrong. You're wrong. If you feel that, you need to sort yourself out. If you feel that, you need to figure out why you have such an inferiority complex that you have. Because I can tell you this, I wouldn't want to be in the shoes of any male that ever raised a hand to one of my female daughters,
Mhm.
because that would not be a good
Mhm.
day in their life, and definitely wouldn't be a good day in my life, but it would be an example. It would be an
So,
example of what happens when You don't do things the way that you're supposed to. Respect, partnership. That's what being with a female is. It's a partnership. It's a partnership. Let me say that over again one more time, particularly for you females that are in relationships that you don't think that you can get out of. You can. You can leave. If any male ever picks this hand up to you, you should leave. Period.
The
And for
takeaway, listeners, the takeaway that for the first part of our discussion is to remember. Now we're directing this towards women, towards wives, towards mothers, towards females. And we're hoping that in doing that, the males will get the idea. The rib is a metaphor. When you hear about this thing about women are you were made from a rib, that's a metaphor, okay? It's symbolic of the fact that you are the protectors of what is close to the heart. It's a symbolic meaning of that you are essential in the structure of the human society. You are the builder and as a partner, like Dave says, in the building of our key life form going forward. And so the idea of you being inferior was something that theologians introduced. It was never in the scripture. It was introduced by theologians later. And to the extent that has affected the way we see each other, we must begin to improve that. And Dave, you're 100% correct. We have to do a better job, those of us who say we are men, because just because you're a male doesn't make you a man. You've got to demonstrate, as Dave was saying. There are things that are expected for you to be able to do on a higher level than just sexual level. And if you don't perform those things, you are not filling the role of what man is. Man is mind. Man is not flesh. And then we want to turn a little bit. Dave mentioned how we have to look at the way we run our societies and our neighborhoods and our communities. And of course, the roles and responsibilities that men and women play are critical. So let's look at America. Let's look at where we are now, going forward with this confused state that we're in, hating each other, not even knowing why. Dave, is America able to correct itself through just correcting this whole misconception about women and females and mother?
I'm not sure, Daniel. I'm not sure that. First off, I don't believe that I'm qualified to answer that question. From what I've seen so far, though, I don't see us reaching to correct anything. In fact, if anything, over the last 10 years, we've seen more of a setback to not just women's rights, but pretty much everybody's rights. Unless you're of the 1% that are fall into the billionaire class, we're all not looked at as being relevant anymore. It used to be that everyone was valued to a certain extent. Now, the only thing that seems to be valued by the vast majority of people is how much somebody is worth. But when you look at how much somebody is worth, you're looking at what they're monetarily worth. But what are they actually worth when it comes to being a human being? Does that person show empathy? Are they doing things to better the human race? Or are they doing things to enrich, deceive, and make people more dependent on them than they are on giving people the ability to make it on their own? And that's
Dave, would you respond to this for us? and speaking about the value of the woman. A society that dishonors its women guarantees the collapse of its men.
That's 100% true, because without women, you don't have any men. And remember, women, you were conceived from the rib. Man, you were conceived from the prick. Do you understand what I'm saying then, Daniel? Women were made from man's rib. Men were made from man's groin.
Okay.
And I know
we certainly would like to have some feedback on this episode. Those of you who are listening, and your feedback will be welcome. You can reach us at truthfulmanipulation@gmail.com. And Dave, you had mentioned that we are getting ready to, down the road here soon, we're going to do some other things with our episode.
Yeah, before too long, we're going to open this up and do some episodes live so that people have the ability to call in and comment on what exactly we're talking about, because we think that it's important for people to be able to vent. Even the trolls that are out there that want to troll us and say that what we're doing is not sound. But what we're doing is sound. We're trying to make a point that men and women are created equal, not subpar for one another or to one another. They're created equal. In fact, if you put a woman on a pedestal and treat her better than being created equal, she will accommodate your needs going forward. And with that, that's this week's episode of Truthful Manipulation. Please get a hold of us at truthfulmanipulation@gmail.com. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe at truthfulmanipulation.com. Follow us on Instagram and LinkedIn. Don't forget to pick up a copy of our book, Truthful Manipulation, A Roadmap to Live By. And we hope everybody has a wonderful Thanksgiving tomorrow. Happy Thanksgiving. Goodbye, America.